Okay, folks, welcome to Behind the Event on the Spotlight DMV. It is your girl, Rose Johnson, and this discussion is all about highlighting the stories, voices, and impact behind the 2025 Downtown Largo Festival happening on September 6th. This year's theme is education behind the fun, and it's centered on environmental stewardship, stormwater management, clean living, sustainability, all in an interactive, family friendly workshop. And of course, art and entertainment. So before we dive into tonight's conversation, let me introduce you to two extraordinary women who truly embody the theme of this year's Downtown Largo Festival, blending creativity, culture, and sustainability. Karen Bolding and Kathy Anderson are twin sisters who have spent a lifetime in harmony with the land. Growing up, they hiked wooded trails, waded in streams, and tromped through wetlands with their siblings, foraging wild berries, grapes, and honeysuckle, and soaking in the smells and taste of summer. That early love for nature shaped not only their personal lives, but also their careers, their creative work, and their mission today. Together, they've authored a series of children's books: Fern and Ginger, Dandelions and Watermelons, Fern, Foraging in the Forest, and Ginger, Sowing and Growing, that use storytelling to introduce young readers, especially children of color, to the joys of nature, gardening, and sustainability. Karen is a Karen is a career environmentalist, freelance writer, and training specialist. She's also a graphic designer and the author of several other works, including I Speak Life and Say No with a Smile. I need that book. Outside of her professional work, she enjoys crocheting, reading, and raising her teenage daughter. Kathy is a biologist, artist, and natural resource management specialist. She's also a writer and martial artist who enjoys reading, photography, and caring for her home garden. Her published works include Red and Pop, Woody, Snappy, and Terpy Swampy Party, and more. She's the proud mother of a daughter and son. These sisters aren't just authors and scientists, they're gardeners, foragers, community educators, and creators of experiences that help us all reconnect with the earth. And at the Downtown Largo Festival, they'll be leading a workshop that brings their knowledge to life in a way that's hands on, healing, and deeply rooted in legacy. Welcome, ladies. Welcome to the Spotlight DMV.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for
having
having
us.
us.
I'm so excited that you both are here. Welcome, ladies. I'm so happy to have you on the Spotlight DMV. Happy Thursday. Happy Wednesday. And so I want to talk a bit about how we met. We met last year at Black Women in Agriculture Conference that was organized by Kamani Anku of Gardening and Beats. And you guys had your books, and we had powerful conversations about farming and growing your own foods, and more specifically, seeds. And that conversation about seeds really stuck with me. And I know that's a conversation for an entirely different day. But let's start at the beginning. Tell us where you're from and what sparked your connection to gardening, foraging, and interacting with the land.
Well, we were born in Washington, D.C., and early on, our parents moved all of us out to Prince George's County, and we were in Suitland first and then in District Heights. And while we were in both locations, we were outdoors all the time. So we didn't watch television. So as a group of siblings, we were always running through the woods, in the streams, out and about all day, every day. And so we used to play games based on TV. The few shows we did watch, climbing trees. And so our interest in the outdoors was early on. I'm talking 3, 4, 5 years old. We were outside all day, mud pies, eating dirt, picking things off of trees. So that's basically where we got started. Our parents encouraged us to be outside. And our dad specifically was into science. He made sure we learned about fish and all the animals in the world, and all, just the environment around us.
I really love that because I had a similar childhood. I grew up with a huge park right across from my house. And like it was an expansive park in Adelphi that it's still over there now. And, we'd be all back in the woods, all in the stream, catching crayfish and whatnot. And we always used to be like, if our parents knew what we were doing. But we had a great, we'd be gone for hours out there having a great time just making our own fun, right?
For sure. And getting home before the street light went out. Very
Exactly, exactly. And
Yes.
so Karen, what was your experience like growing up? What is your memory of that?
We had some fun times. Our great grandmother had would live with us from time to time, and she was one that got us out, and that's how we learned how to forage. And so she taught us what pokeweed was. She showed us how to cook it, and so we had it quite a bit growing up. And with our father, he made dandelion wine and
Hmm.
grapevines that grew on the fence outside. And so that part, we enjoyed spending time with them, but we learned a lot too. So
Wow, dandelion wine. I've never heard of that. And you know what I find really interesting? I've been having conversations about people of color in the winemaking and spirits industry, and some of the conversations we've had are about like some of our wines from fruits and things like that, and that those types of techniques and ingredients not necessarily being respected, in the wine world. So, tell me a little bit more about dandelion wine. I'm interested.
of course, being young, we couldn't sip but so much. Um, but as we got older and he got older, he didn't do it as much. But the other thing he taught us was sun tea. And so now we heat up our tea and our water. What he did was he made tea, put it out on the porch, and let the sun um, dissolve
Or
dissolve it and make,
steep the tea in the sun.
steep the tea, that's basically. And so we grew up on that also. And so just a lot of the things that we had and we ate was out in nature. My mom went to farming marketplaces in DC, the Oak Street Market, and where she got our fresh vegetables. The grocery store wasn't a big deal unless we couldn't find it at the market.
Mm-hmm. And I know you guys talk a lot about passing down information from the elders, the things that you've learned, recipes for all kinds of things. When did that become something you were passionate about?
I would say, I mean, it was early because we one of the things that we have is we have allergies, so we always had to be careful with what we ate. We were athletes as well, so we played all kinds of sports all year round. So we knew we couldn't eat junk all day. Our parents didn't really have us eating junk food. Our mom was big on making sure we had vegetables.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is whenever she made cabbage, I would take the, cabbage root and I would eat it. I would eat it raw.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so, between that and then whatever fruit was, off the cherry tree, or we had a grapevine growing in our yard, so we were always eating grapes. But for the most part, it was from our elders. Our parents made sure we ate well. When we stayed with our, grandmother, she did the same. She made corn pudding. We had traditional, I would say Eastern woodland foods. So we were eating oysters. We didn't eat a lot of fried foods growing up. And
Mhm.
so being at our grandmother's house a lot, and she was in Northwest DC, right by the park, being outdoors around where she lived. But for the most part, she didn't have a bunch of chemicals in her house. She was born in 1916. So she got along fine with without the trappings of today.
Yeah.
And so we saw that. And that was our influence.
Yeah, speaking of that in general, My parents, I'm a first generation American. And so when my parents came here, I remember my mom making coconut milk. And at that time, that was not something you could just go buy from the store. So I remember her having to break open the coconut and then gratering it and making the coconut milk. And mind you, we lived down the street from a McDonald's, but that was not something that was a part of what we ate, or that was like something special. We used to have to beg. We had to beg for that. But my parents didn't believe in they didn't grow up that way. So that wasn't something that they were used to going out to buying fast food. Everything was cooked fresh, whether it was the same meal of what I remember my dad, he used to be like chicken again. But it was fresh food made from fresh coconut milk and things like that. So yeah, I have a similar experience with not being exposed to a lot of processed foods and things of that nature when I was growing up. Of course, then when you take charge of your own your own diet and your own having to take care of yourself, that can kind of change. And so let's talk about that piece of it, about why you feel that it's important to pass this on to other people, because most people, they just do what they did growing up, but you are reaching out to the community to educate. Why do you feel that that's important?
I think it's important because at this day and age, we have been, in a sense, brainwashed to eat what's available now, what's
Yeah.
easy. And so the fast food joint, we have moved away from nature and what's been provided for us, all the chemicals that they're using now, petroleum based, it's making us sick. And so they put these products out without testing, and we end up getting sick. And we later find out, oh, here are all the lawsuits now
Yeah.
because we're getting sick. So we have to go back to what our grandparents did. And so that's what we use. We make our products at home now. Kathy has been really big on it, much longer than I had. And so, but together now we make our own concoctions for cleaning, for washing, for skincare and hair. Like I haven't bought toothpaste or lotion in about 30 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And so, and plus with our allergies, we had to move away from things. And even now, it's like if you buy, like, say, if I don't have time to make it or get it from Kathy, I would get laundry detergent and buy the so-called free and clear. Well, I changed brands and then wondering why I'm itching all over. And so this is a recent thing, and so I've had to go back to the original brand, and I feel better now. But last week was rough because even though it says it's free and clear, it still isn't. And you have to find what works for you by reading the ingredients. And if you don't know what it is, guess what? Don't buy it.
I know that is a large part of what we're going to be talking about as far as the workshop at Downtown Largo Festival that you will be leading. But before we get to that piece of it, and I do want to reiterate that we are here to talk about Downtown Largo Festival and the hands-on workshop that Kathy and Karen will be leading on September 6th at the festival. There are two sessions of the workshop, and we will get into what it's going to be all about. But I want our audience to get to know who you are, because you guys have been in this game for over 20 years, and you just told us about your background growing up and connection to the land and learning from your family, from your elders, but you also have some background in science as well. So talk to us about that.
Okay. Um, for the most part, I'm a biologist, and I've always been focused on the outdoors. And one of the things I'll just add to that is being outdoors barefoot.
Mhm.
We didn't wear shoes all the time, so just running around, feeling the grass, squishing your toes in the soil was my thing. But as a career biologist, my focus for most of my career was wetlands, streams, water bodies. So I was always in the woods. I was out on the boat, in the bays, in the ocean sometimes, but trauma through the swamps was the main part of what I did. So I got to see the wildlife, the plant life. It's a lot of interesting colors out there. And when you're out there, we'll eat stuff too. So if we find a plant, we know it's based on, what we've learned through life with edible plants in the forest. We were eating stuff, fiddleheads, um, tasting the foods that we've learned about more recently. That the sochan tastes so good. Wild swirl is a different kind of flavor, but my favorite flavor of the forest is spice bush
Spice
and
bush.
spice bush. So I knew it when I smelled it. I didn't even have to see it first.
Oh,
But what
wow.
I'd like to do is crumble up the leaves, and I'd walk through the woods just like this behind all my coworkers because I was loving the spice bush. But for the most part, just the essence of outdoors and nature and how things taste good. One thing that I've noticed is if you buy, and I'll pick celery. A lot of folks have had celery before.
Mhm.
The conventional celery is very bland. Organic celery is salty. You can taste the salt. But if you grow that celery yourself, you will get more than the salt. You'll get all the actual flavors of the celery. And I want other people to taste that. And I want folks to enjoy that you can exist without all those chemicals and harmful treatments and produce grown from heirloom seeds. It's a big difference. And most folks, when we're out on the farm and they taste things, when we have visitors, they're always, wow. I get that all the time. I'm always on the farm eating something.
Well, there's something that you said about not needing chemicals when you're growing things in a certain way. And I have found that once I started searching for better ingredients, um, because I can't help but think about the history, right? The history of Black people in the U.S. and like the cuts of meat that we would get and what we had to eat. And so, in order to kind of disguise what was given to us, we had to put all this stuff on it to make it flavorful, to make it edible. And so, as we're talking about passing things down, passing down recipes, passing down what you see, passing down stories, um, that just popped into my mind as you were speaking because now as I'm getting older and my taste buds are kind of changing and sometimes I won't even put seasoning on certain things and my husband's like, "You're not gonna season that?" I'm like, "No, I want to taste it. Like you should taste this. It tastes really good." And that comes from getting quality food, things that how it's being grown, what they're using to grow it, and also what they're not using to grow it as well. Um, so yeah, I love that. I love that. And you brought up the heirloom seeds, and I kind of want to go down that way, but I'm like, that's gonna take us like a whole nother hour. So I'm gonna have to have you guys come back to talk about the seeds because what you opened my eyes to as far as seed legislation is just something that I cannot forget because I just had no idea that it was so controversial to I mean, I knew that people could get in trouble for where they grew something, but I didn't realize that seeds were under legislation as well. So that's a whole different that's a whole different conversation that we'll get into. So let's get into the workshop and how all of your experience ties into the workshop. I know you mentioned about having allergies and having to learn how to make your own cleaning products and other products that you use on your skin and hair because of that. So talk to us about the workshop and what you are teaching.
Okay. The workshop is a create your own body, household, and hygiene goods. So we're going to showcase three products, and you'll find out what they are when you get there. But But we are going to have a discussion around toxic commercial cleaning, cosmetic, and hygiene products, what those chemicals can do to the body. We're going to discuss sustainable, cost effective solutions to maintain your health and your home. And so the hands on, you're going to make things and take it with you. And they're going to be eco friendly, effective, natural, and sustainable products using common foods, common organic goods, things you have in your kitchen. So if it's healthy and you can eat it, you can put it on your skin. You can put it in your mouth. That's what we're going to express during the workshop.
And after the workshop, I'm sure that those that participated will actually go on their own quest and discover ways to make more products. And so the goal is to pique their interest and get them start them on their own journey. And I think that once you attend, participate, and see what's happening, you won't go back.
Yeah.
That and that's the biggest thing for us is that as we teach, they'll learn more on their own, and then they'll begin to teach others. And so I believe that there will be a mass movement of us going back to nature because we see the damage that chemicals have done to our bodies. And
Yeah.
so we have family members with the cancer, the diabetes, all of that, and skin issues like we've never had before. And so let's get back to nature, get back to the things that are clean and what we know the ingredient is. And therefore, we can pass that information on, starting with our families and then moving forward. So it's that each one teach one. And
Yes.
that's the goal of why we do what we do.
I love that. And just like I mentioned earlier, when you taught me, you opened my eyes to the seed legislation, and I can't stop talking about it. Each one teach one, right? And I I love what you said about using ingredients that you could even find in your kitchen. And I'm finding now that we're allergic to a whole lot of stuff. A whole lot of stuff that we were not allergic to before. Or maybe even we were allergic before and didn't even realize that some of the things we were suffering from was through what we were eating or putting on our skin. My husband, he deals with some flare ups like on his head, and we were able to determine, like, he did a food allergy test and they tested him for all kinds of stuff and he was fine, but the one thing they didn't test him for was gluten. And so we were able to narrow it down to that. We were like, oh, we kept a food journal. We were like, see, every time you eat this thing, it starts to flare up. And then the work comes in because now it's like, now I have to kind of weed that out. And I've been eating this my whole life. So how can I incorporate something different or maybe use natural ingredients or things that won't allow those allergies to flare up. And so I want to reiterate that Downtown Largo Festival is happening on September 6th. It starts at 11 a.m. and it is free 99, guys. And let me tell you, these ladies, they normally charge for a session like this, and they are not doing it once. They are doing two workshops on Saturday, September 6th at the Downtown Largo Festival. So make sure that you get your tickets. I will have all the links below. And so, ladies, I just want to also talk about your children's books because I know that the books that you write also incorporate what we've been talking about here, some DIY, growing your own foods, and things like that. So, tell us a bit about your books.
We've written 4 books. The first one is basically introducing the concept of farming, foraging, and gardening. The second book, Fern, that is specifically teaching children how to forage, what to look for, what not to overpick whatever plant that they want, but to leave some to grow more of, or for leave some for other people. But in that book, we talk about a natural bug spray that is used to help keep the mosquitoes away. The ginger book is about teaching about how to start your own farm. And that is, we have in there a recipe for bug spray because a little girl got stung by a bee. And so, how to get soothed with that. And then the last book is The Family Buys a Phone. And so we share that process with children. And the ultimate goal is to get our children back on the land, to get natural, to eat natural. And every book has a session where they're all eating dinner together about the things that they bought on the farm.
No, I absolutely love that. And I think it's so important that we teach our kids, especially when we have people that are in office that don't necessarily care about our health. We have to be the ones to care about our health. We cannot expect anybody to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. So it's so, so important that we share this information and we start teaching them from young. And let me tell you, I went to a camp, maybe about 2 weeks ago, and it was the last day of camp, and I spoke to one of the young ladies there, and she was telling me all about the herbs that she learns about, and, just went into this whole conversation of her being interested in becoming an herbalist, and she was, what, 11, 12 years old? And I
Nice.
was just like, wow, this is so amazing. When we expose our kids to things like this, it will never, never leave them. Nobody can take away that education and knowledge from them. So I really love what you ladies are doing. Thank you so much for all your work in this space, in agriculture, in book writing and storytelling, in advocacy, in farming, in education. And so, once again, I want to remind you guys about Downtown Largo Festival happening on September 6th. And let me give you some of the highlights that are going to be there. We're going to have some resource hubs that are there and so a part of what I do love about this festival, because I went last year, and sometimes you have to use a thing to teach the thing, right? So you're going there for a festival, but you're also being educated about stormwater and why that's important, why it's important for Largo, that we understand what that's about. We're being educated about DIY products and toxins and how to keep that out of your system. And not only that, we're going to have art and entertainment. There are going to be gaming zones. There are going to be gardening demonstrations. And there's going to be a small business marketplace where you'll have all kinds of different vendors that are there. I know that there's going to be fresh produce being sold there. And you're gonna have food trucks, guys. So come out. It is all free. Come see these ladies, Karen and Kathy, take the workshop. And yeah, tell your friends, bring your friends. And so, Karen and Kathy, before we sign off here, I want folks to know how to find you. Where can we find you on social media?
Okay, on IG, it's under Karen Bolding, and Kathy is Kathy Anderson Books. Our websites are karenbolding.net, and Kathy's website is Awi Squad, AWI Squad.com. And that's where you'll find our books and learn more about us.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you again, ladies. And folks, if you like this discussion that we had here, this conversation, make sure you like, comment, and share this video. And I will see you all on September 6th at Downtown Largo Festival. All the links to get your free tickets will be in the description. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.